Welcome to another episode of Keeping It Orange and Blue. I'm Ryan Evan, joined as always by my good friend Kevin Ducey. What's up, Kevin? Did you have a good week?
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Fun things in the Illini world. Big weekend visit for the football team. Let's continue to pull some guys. Got a JUCO receiver today.
Mm-hmm.
Come in and be on the squad this year. All right.
Great size, yeah, very good size.
6'4", 180.
Yeah, 6'4", 180. I mean, he runs nice, clean routes. He's got good hands. And the fact that even though Texas A&M offered him a preferred walk-on, I think that it was just so late in the game. They just didn't – I don't think they had any scholarships left.
Yeah.
But Illinois is like, well, we do, and we need a size on the edge there. And, so they're like, hey, let's go ahead and pull the trigger, and we're going to talk about him. He'll be one of the first things we talk about. But, yeah, that was a big get today. So on the docket, we're going to talk about the big football official visit weekend. Illinois is right now currently, I believe, 35th for 2024. Of course, the JUCO wide receiver that we'll be talking about will go towards the class of 2023, and he will be eligible to participate in August and in camp. And he'll be a big part of this season's team. But first things first, Kevin. We do appreciate our sponsor here. If you look at the bottom ticker here, we got a promo code going for our sponsor, hometownhypeapparel.com. We appreciate Scott Davies and his business. You can get a hold of him at 217-278-0120. Again, hometownhypeapparel.com. So basically, it speaks for itself. If you have a place or a school, any place that maybe you have graduated from, or your place that you live that doesn't really have any place that focuses on their gear, shirts, whatever it may be, you can subscribe to his site. They'll hook you up with getting anything you could want made or put on your shirt or the logos. You get a hold of him there at hometownhypeapparel.com, and he's going to hook you up. And if you, what I like about it is you can set up your school. There's a lot of schools that are on there, Kevin, and you can set that up and get a trend going. And right now, if you order from hometownhypeapparel.com, you get 10% off if you use the code orange and blue. And that is courtesy of me and Kev. So 10% off your first order. Heck, he may even be nice and say every order, but for right now, I believe it's your first order. So get a hold of him. We appreciate him being our sponsor of Keeping It Orange and Blue.
Saving the people money. That's what's up.
That's right. It is. So he's tuning in now too. A big shout out. We appreciate you. Now also too, we appreciate all our followers and subscribers on YouTube. It's growing. We appreciate it. All the platforms on Spotify's kicking butt. I've noticed that. We appreciate you. For all the listeners, the late night after the show, because it's live right now, so it's not on Spotify. But all the late night listeners, the early morning risers who listen to us on the way to the gym, who listen to us in the airports, who listen to us on the car rides to the airport or to work. We appreciate you on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So keep listening, keep subscribing, and we appreciate you.
Amen, brother. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all the folks. And, they're doing good stuff over there at Hometown Hype Apparel. It was always a little bit of a challenge. I know for me, if I wanted to get some local gear when my brother was playing, there was only a few places that did it, and I proudly supported those folks. But, if you got a quasi school, it's on the outskirts, or a smaller school, it's hard to do that. So kudos to Scott, what he's doing. Go get your order in.
That's right. So let's begin with the first order of the day before we get to the major weekend of names who I feel like could be Illini. Let's actually talk about who is going to be an Illini. And that is Alexander Kapka Jones, a 6'4", 180-pound, nice guy. He reminds me of Geronimo Allison, kind of.
Yeah.
Kind of a smooth stride, just kind of clean, runs nice routes, has good hands. George McDonald loves him. I trust him. He's a Cali guy, but he, fell in love when he was in Champaign. after they offered him this week, he was at a camp midweek, which is neat. So he had offers from some, nice D1, group of 5 teams. He didn't have a big Power 5 offer, but Texas A&M offered him a PWO because they didn't have any more scholarships left. They didn't have any more scholarship left for 2023. So he's like, you know what? I know I'm good enough to go get a Power 5 offer, and he got it. He camped at Illinois, and Illinois offered him. So that's a big get for Illinois, and I think his size, Kevin, down the not just for jump balls, but I think his size and how he can be a deep threat will help the slot receivers, guys who, like an Isaiah Williams, even Pat Bryant to a degree, and Hank Beatty. I think it's going to really help out having a guy that, you can throw a deep ball to the corner of the end zone.
Yeah, he's he had 60 some catches, 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. You go check out his huddle. You can follow him on Twitter. His huddle link's up there. The first touchdown catch grab that he makes, beautiful one-hander. He's going to give us that size guy on the outside to stretch the field a little bit. I don't know. I got questions about has he got Big Ten speed? But we got two guys on the outside right now that have experience in Pat Bryant and Casey Washington. We got some good slot guys, obviously, in Isaiah Williams and Hank Beatty, and Kamari Wilcher is a really exciting prospect, and there's some other things that we can do there. But this is a guy who I think can come in and potentially play. And so it's exciting to get him on board. It seems like he's a physical player. He's not afraid to block, got some good hands. Whether he competes for a job this year or not, he's going to compete, and whether he sees the field or not, which should be interesting. But it's a great take right now, right? Because you got the room, you got the scholarships, the guy's played college football, and he's got Big Ten size. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, and again, to be determined if he makes a big impact this year. But I think he'll see the field at some point in some certain packages. There may be some goal line, there may be a goal line package where, like that Lunny's wanting to throw a fade to the back of the end zone, or even maybe on 3rd and long, so I think you'll see him get some action, but I think he's a guy who's motivated and who's, again, this late in the game. Yeah, it's not a reach. It's not a stretch. And if you've got the scholarship, I'm glad they did it. So obviously switching gears here to
just one quick thing on that. It's like you just said, Ryan, it's once again that Brett Bielema is running his program like a CEO. I say it all the time. I've said it since I've said it for over a year now since we've been doing this show. He runs the program like a CEO. And what we have on the outside right now with this football team is Pat Bryant and Casey Washington that have outside size at the Big Ten level that have played. Now, we've got guys like Malik Elzy and some other younger guys that we're all waiting for, Ian Pugh and Sean Miller. And we're hoping that those guys can do something for us. But the challenge with that is those guys don't have any experience. So at least you're bringing in a guy who has some college football experience. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I'm excited about it. So I think it's just, like you said, it's a great move by the team. Take a guy who can come in and at least compete for a job, so that if guys are making freshman mistakes, we got somebody out there that has got some college experience is going to step up and can make some plays. He can catch the football as a big body.
And one of the features that I love so much about this show is our interaction. So the positive things about subscribing on YouTube is you can live chat with us. So Trent Skarupa, actually, Kevin answered what his comment was. LZ will be huge on the outside as well. We don't know that this season, but I think in his career, I think you could probably take that to the bank.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
But for this season, we don't really know that. And that's why taking a guy who could play 2 years is, with that size, I think it's great. But
wide receivers that we have over 6'1" with college experience is slim outside of Bryant and Washington. It's almost none. So that's why you got to bring in a guy here. And like I said, if the freshmen aren't giving you what you want, you've got a guy with college football experience and college football hands and Big Ten size. So
Now, obviously, with Kapka on board, we've thinking, oh, just that's class of 2023. But what about the 2024 class and who they've got on board? And so, obviously, I'm going to get to my selections and picks, and I've already actually given a crystal ball of one of those. If you follow me on Twitter, I kind of like to do those things.
Yeah.
But so Illinois, I would say, has this group. There's several athletes and DBs. So it looks like Aaron Henry and Finellis want to kind of grab a couple of those and, kind of start finalizing their secondary. And then with the running back group, they do want to add at least another one. So without having, Dupree on board, who was at Missouri this weekend, Darian Dupree, who's a Mount Carmel 4-star kid who, it's like right now with everything going on and knowing that Illinois pounds the rock and what you saw out of Chase Brown, it's just shocking that he hasn't jumped on board yet. But I know that it's a sexy thing for a lot of running backs to be like, hey, you're going to get the ball. You have a great chance to get a lot of carries. That shockingly, that hasn't done it for Dupree. But they have Khalil Valentine on from Chandler, Arizona, who was here over the weekend. And, Thad Ward has really done his best, obviously put his best foot forward, but, making him say, hey, if you want this slot's yours.
Yeah.
And Valentine actually on social media had mentioned, July 8th, he's going to make his choice. But I know Illinois was like telling him, if you want it, it's here now. He may still announce July 8th, but they're like, you want to jump on board now because, there's no guarantee Dupree next week might not come on. But why not say you want it? If you tell us now, Dupree's not coming. Then, Valentine's good enough that you could tell Dupree that, like, listen, Valentine's no slouch. He's a good player. I think he's actually quicker with his times, speed-wise. And he's a nice pass catcher out of the backfield. He's got a nice huddle film if you watch. I'm sure you have, Kev.
Oh, yeah.
So he is no slouch. It's not like you say, well, you're just not there, but we're going to take Dupree no matter what. No, Valentine's in here to basically, one, pressure Dupree, if not anything else. But to two, say, you're good enough. We'll take you if you want to commit, and Dupree can kick rocks. Well, the recruiting thing is it's such an interesting way, and how you have to go about it. It takes special guys because you can't come out and just tell a kid, hey, we love you, we're prioritizing you, but we really don't want you as our number one. We want the other kid. But so he's coming first. But then if on your visit, if you're ready, we will take you. But if he called us in mid-visit and said he's coming, then they have to okay, well, you're going to commit. It's odd. It's like, how do you finesse those, young minds of like that you care about them because you do, but to say technically we have a depth of who's 1A, who's 1B. But in this situation, if Valentine wants in, they're going to take him.
Yeah, I mean, this is Valentine's a kid who 247 composite. They're ranked about the same. They're about the same size. They're a similar style and play. But the thing is, and we've talked about Dupree, so people are aware of him. But Valentine's has got offers from Utah, Oregon, Miami, Arizona, and Dupree's always been thought it's Illinois. Wisconsin battle. I think Michigan's thrown their hat in the ring there too. But I mean, they're similar guys. The one benefit with Dupree is, Missouri, not Michigan. With Dupree, is he's an Illinois kid, and you'd like to still keep the Mount Carmel pipeline open there. But Valentine, that kid can play. So they're about the same size, similar style. And I'm with you. If whoever's first to pop, you take them, man, and you go with it.
And so Illinois had some very good, some kids. One in particular's name is Caleb Pyfrom. So he took an official visit. He was a Nebraska kid. That's they're wanting to add, I know, at least one more offensive lineman, maybe two. I know because you could put Eddie Turek at D-line, which I know that's something that it's possible. But that's one of the big names that was on campus. There was another Nebraska kid who
tight end, Tanner.
Yes. Yep. It's not just that, but yeah, there's a couple Nebraska kids, but I wanted to get to who we'll go down the list here. Okay, so
Right.
we had Chase Green, defensive back from Florida, who I'm going to get to here in a little bit. We have Brandon Hanson, offensive lineman, already committed, right, Kev?
Yes.
So Caleb Pyram, who I just mentioned, Kevin Levy, who I know Illinois. I actually spoke to Kevin a little bit tonight. He's been looked at as a Florida State lean. He just visited Florida State last weekend with Ricky Knight, and I know those two are ones that Illinois want. Knight was here 2 weeks ago, and then here tonight, Kevin Levy was here this weekend. And then D'Amico Kennedy, a defensive end who, I'd love, I think would be a great addition. Josiah Knight, an outside linebacker. Dalen Platt, another defensive back from Florida, who the staff really, really likes.
Size.
Yes.
6'3" DB.
Which I'll go down and I'll get to that. I'm going to get down to who I think staff's liking and their preference, and then who I think they're end up going to get. Joe Barna, outside linebacker. Tanner Hollinger, the tight end from Nebraska. Yeah. So, and of course, Khalil Valentine, the running back from Arizona. And then Amar Reynolds, another defensive back from Florida, who, interestingly enough, he didn't have any other Big Ten or Power 5 offers until Friday when he started his visit. Then Indiana offered him. So he has 2 Big Ten offers, Amar Reynolds. Yeah. Now, the first one I did my picks to click in my tweet. So I got Alex Kapka Jones for 2023, but for 2024, I think one of the first ones to pop from this weekend will be Tanner Hollinger. Okay. Interestingly enough, that Nebraska didn't want anything to do with him, which, he's from Nebraska. I just don't get with the struggles that they've had, how you wouldn't want a big, tall, lanky, athletic guy like that, 6'5". He's shown he's got nice hands. I think he's got the frame he can physically fill out to be a decent blocker. But, Brett Bielema is not a guy who's just going to recruit a tight end just to catch passes.
Right.
That's just not how it works, Kev.
Right.
So,
yeah, and I mean his offer list isn't super sexy. But like I said, I mean, this is one of those ones you got to trust what Bielema is doing here. And granted, we just picked up a tight end too, so it's not like it's a position of extreme need. So there's something that the team and the scouting on the football side of the field realizes that this kid can contribute and be a player for Illinois in some form or fashion. I'm kind of still excited or waiting for the day when we've got the tight end that we recruit that's a no-star kid that ends up being a first-round draft pick left tackle, because that seemed to be like the Bielema, Wisconsin model, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I've got Tanner Hollinger, still a 3-star tight end from Nebraska. And if Bielema, and I know this with Lunny and Bielema, with the offense that they want to have, they're not just going to throw those offers out to anybody. So They do like him, and that's good. And I trust Bielema and his staff 100%. As Kevin had mentioned earlier, he's running it like a business, a CEO, and he's not going to do anything to this program or offer any kids just to do it. Oh, there we go. We get to see you fully without your back block eye, your backdrop. We can see Kev.
I don't know why I did that, but hey, I'm all right.
It's all good, man. So that's number 1. Okay, number 2, I've got Chase Green, defensive back from Florida, who has been super I feel like he's been a heavy Illinois lean for a month or two. I had a source tell me tonight that, Illinois is landing a couple of those defensive backs and so Chase Green has always been one. And I pretty much was confirmed Chase is one. The second one, I'm going to go between 2 people here. And I'm okay with one or the other. And here's why I'm going to say this. And this is how it can be tricky, okay? If Daylon Platt wants to come, and he's committing. No matter what the other one that I'm going to mention says, they're going to take Platt.
Okay.
Okay. So the other one that I know, because I talked to him, Amar Reynolds, I asked him, okay, how was your visit? What would you give it on a scale of 10? He told me 10 out of 10.
Wow.
And I said, wow, you can't get better than 10 out of 10. And I said, what stood out for you? Okay. And I'll read the exact quotes from his text message. I would rate the visit a 10 out of 10. The thing that stuck out to me the most was how well and how much the previous players were ready to compete for the next level. And I definitely am big into that. So then I said, what did you think of the Smith Center? And, how were your relationship with the coaching staff? He told me he loved the Smith Center, as all the kids do. How could you not? That thing's amazing. And he bonded with almost every single one of the coaches. So it's like a family atmosphere. They don't preach that hashtag just for nothing.
Right.
So, and even though he didn't tell me he's committing, kids aren't just going to come out and be like, hey, guy I've never met in my life, I'm committing to Illinois. That's not how it works. But I like to get a feel and a vibe when I'm told something, and then I'll go reach out to them. And so a 10 out of 10, you ain't getting no better than that. And as of right now, Indiana's his only other Power 5 offer, who just offered, by the way, while he was at Illinois on his official. So, like, to me, when you're in love with the place and they've prioritized you, it's like you're in love with a woman, right? And you want to marry him. And then all of a sudden, this woman's like, do you want my number? You're going to be like, nah. No thanks. I got mine right here. I'm good. So I feel like Amar Reynolds is going to be on board with Chase Green. So now if it isn't Amar Reynolds, it is only because a guy like Platt is like, yo, I'm ready. I'm on board too.
Yeah.
And the reason why they won't take 3 is because they're already filling up. They don't have room for all that. They don't want to stack too many scholarships all in one spot when they can kind of maybe move it around a little bit. So I think they're ready to take 2 more. I don't think they want to just take 3 from this, because I know there may be one other one who was on a visit 2 weeks ago. I think his last name's Lucas that they like. So
yeah.
But that's that. Also, to finish up from the weekend, so those are the names I've given you. I know I told you I talked to Kevin Levy. That would be a surprise one, but it's also the way he spoke about his visit. He spoke extremely highly of his visit. Kevin Levy told me, let me get his exact words here. And I didn't steal these from anyone, Kevin. Can you believe that they spoke to me? All right. He said, I asked how his visit to Illinois was. And he said, I would have say it was beyond good. He said, I would call it great. And I said, wow, okay. And I said, really, what stuck out to you? What was it about Illinois in general that is something that you would really strongly consider? And he said, it's got to be the relationships with the staff and the culture of the entire program, which, again, hashtag family, Kevin. So that would, if you would say, well, why would he pick Illinois over Florida State? I'd say, well, the culture or the environment of where he's at. You see where guys are getting developed and bred and to put into positions to play in the NFL. And then the relationships, you feel like these people genuinely care about you.
Yeah.
That's why he would pick an Illinois over a Florida State. Now, what I was told about Khalil Valentine is that I would say Illinois is in a great spot. I know Utah was assumed to be the leader, Kevin. And they don't really have anything special going on for them right now. But I will say, and I'm talking about in the class of 2024.
Right.
Utah, the program has been very good, and they continue to
absolutely.
be. They've had some really good running backs, and a couple have had some very tragic endings. But they've had some very good running backs. One passed away a couple years ago at a young age, and you could say, well, why would he pick Utah if they don't have their class is kind of blah? And Illinois is on the trend right now. Who was 35th? Like I said before this weekend started.
Yeah.
But Khalil Valentine, I think, meshed and bonded very well with Dad Ward. He knows, what the Illinois prioritizes a lot of run. And I think from what I've told that Illinois is in the lead right now, and that it wouldn't be shocked if he commits sometime before the July 8th that he already has. So Illinois in a good spot with Khalil Valentine. I gave you the other names who I feel Illinois is in good shape with. And I'll probably tweet out the Chase Green one for people so I can – because I locked those in. Those are locked. Yeah. When I tweet that and I put my official – this is a public tweet for everybody to see because people love to bash me when I do that. I'm not going to hide behind a paywall. I'm going to put it for everybody to see. So,
Chase, you told everybody Brandon Henderson was coming before it happened. We talked about on the show last week. Vernon Woodward was coming. Like, there's a lot of things here, and it's funny. I was just getting ready to talk about this. Right, St. Dominic's Rosary jumped in and talked about Lightfoot. Right, and then one Chicago kid that went to Ohio State and was a star. Why would a defensive player choose Ryan Day over Bielema? Well, because Ohio State's still pretty damn sexy. Right, it's a top 5 program in college football for the past decade. And it's an uphill battle there. But I will say this. Illinois has had 2 guys on campus of real high-level stature at the defensive end position. We have Brian Robinson, an edge, who is supposedly a Michigan lean. But this kid is an absolute stud from Ohio, 6'5", 255 pounds. Watch his workout. You can see it on Twitter. Both him and Lightfoot were here like in back-to-back weekends.
They were there very close to each other, yeah.
Right. And these 2 kids would be crown jewels of a recruiting class, right? This Robinson's a top 200 kid. I think Lightfoot's in the same range. They're a little bit different. I think Robinson could actually beef up to like that 3-4 defensive end. But here's what I'm hearing about both of their visits is that Charlie Bullen just absolutely is knocking it out of the park. They are so highly impressed with him, his pro pedigree, and what he's done. Yeah, Lightfoot's a top 130 guy, and Robinson's just in the top 200. But they're both phenomenal potential gets. And Lightfoot's a Ohio State lean, and Robinson's a Michigan lean. Yeah, and then Trent, he chopped in. Robinson looked incredible. He absolutely did. And guys, we're in the hunt here. Like, I don't think. I'm not going to go out here. I'm not going to do a Ducey crystal ball and say I think we get either one of these guys. But we are. This is not just. They're not just placating Illinois. I mean, Robinson's a kid from Ohio. I mean, you get Lightfoot. He's an Illinois kid. Kenwood. Why he might be giving Illinois the time of day, but Robinson has almost his pick of schools, and he's giving us a look. And there's some development going on. And it's one of the things. Another reason why I'm bullish on this team going forward this year is I think. What Bullen is going to do with the outside linebackers and the talent that he has there is that we're going to have a really dynamic pass rush this year. I'm just really excited about what's going on with Illinois football. So keep your eyes on that stuff, guys. It could one of those 2 could swing our way. It would be huge.
I actually agree with you. On the Lightfoot situation. I've been told that Illinois really pulled itself close to pretty even with Ohio State after that visit over the week, mainly because of Bullen. But like I told you before his visit, he was huge on development. And Illinois with Bullen and seeing already how well the Illini's defensive line has grown, and guys like Randolph and Newton have turned themselves into first, second, third round picks next year. You know what I mean? Like, and then you got Gabe Yakis and Seth Coleman, who guys I think they're going to be drafted in a couple of years. I think if Coleman stays another year, which he will, he'll have one more year, because his freshman year was the COVID season.
Yeah, so. I mean, if Seth gets the look that we need and he gets the grade to possibly go pro, by all means, it'll be great for Illinois if he can go and get drafted. I mean, we want to put more in the NFL. It'll help us down the line.
Yeah,
it helps us on the field necessarily the following season, but it'll certainly help the program overall. So.
But Seth Coleman is that kind of guy he's just kind of like a freakish type athlete. I think Coleman definitely has the physique and the length and tangibles, I think, to be definitely a pro player. So he's just a guy we don't really talk about a lot on that defense, because everybody's like, all right, Randolph, Newton, and then you got to talk about Yakis, freshman All-American, and then you could, it was all about the secondary last year, and then there's still some younger pieces, but you still got Tariq Barnes who's starting. You can't forget about Barnes. The dude will be a 4-year starter. He's making plays since his first time he was even inserted into the first game against Wisconsin 4 years ago. The COVID year with Lovie Smith where the season was just abysmal, but he was just making plays even then. So, but Coleman's like a 4th or 5th guy on that defense you talk about.
Yep.
And he's a stud. He'd be a guy that you talk about all the time on other teams.
I think with what Illinois will run this year, I think Seth will push double-digit sacks. That's just a projection that I'll say right now. I think he'll come close to that. And St. Dominic's Rosary just chimed in. Hey, it doesn't matter where you go to school. Illinois just proved it. We had a guy drafted in the top 5. And it said, Ohio State better. Gabe's going to be better than anybody Ohio State has on their roster. I'm going to challenge you on this one, like JT Tuamuyolo or what I don't want to say his last name. 44. That dude who single-handedly won the Penn State game for them is a pretty damn good dude. So
yeah. But okay, but I think me and Kev are on this. I think if you look at the talent on the lines in the front 7,
Illinois is top of the Big Ten.
Illinois. There is the most I think you could say is Ohio State or Michigan or even. Like that's the most you could say. If someone said Ohio State's D-line is better than Illinois, I'd say, well, you're wrong. If anything, it's pretty close to even, but Illinois would be to me the edge with just so much experience and but anyway, so I appreciate you chiming in, St. Dominic's Rosary. Hey, we haven't had the Master tonight, Kev. What's up with that?
We jumped into any basketball where you can start clapping at us.
Yeah, I mean, no. When we start, as soon as we start talking about basketball, the Master jumps in with football stuff.
Well, here's one thing. Like CBS Sports College Football did top front 7s in college football this year, and they had Michigan 2, Penn State. And then and Illinois was in honorable mentions with Iowa, Ohio State, Florida State, Alabama. I mean, that's still like we're in their top 10 front 7s. I don't see where Ohio State or Penn State are that far ahead of us, and we'll find out on September 16th.
Oh my goodness, man! Are you gonna make it to Champaign for a game this year?
I'm gonna try. I'm 99% sure I'm going to the Kansas game. Friday night, September 8th. So it's my birthday, so anybody wants to come, buy me a drink. Great.
If anybody wants to come, tickets on Kev. All right, no, but I just know that there'll be some games this year that in Champaign that you wouldn't want to miss. But I get it. But I'm really thinking that Iowa game late in the year is going to be the decider for the Big Ten West.
I can parlay that into a work trip, so I might be actually headed to Kinnick this year for that one.
Oh, okay. There we go. Creed Tucker says, "Come to homecoming."
Wisconsin?
Yeah, it could be. And did someone say basketball? Yes, Creed. So, he's like, let me say. Oh, someone said basketball, huh? And again, we appreciate all our subscribers on YouTube. You just get a little extra. You can chat with us on here. And I know on Twitter, technically it shows you can comment, but I'm not looking at the Twitter feed because I'm almost impossible for me to read 3 feeds. But we are going to transition quickly to basketball and because. So sounds like
we had a decommit this week too. So I mean that's
that is why we're doing this. So the reason why I mentioned they're not done with 2023 is because Jeremiah Williams decommitted. Okay. What does that mean for Illinois, though? Does that mean, let's just leave it alone? Or do we still want to maybe look at the transfer portal? Or maybe, Kevin, there's something else. Maybe they want to look at the class of 2024, but possibly a reclassification.
And honestly, like where I'm at, Ryan, I'm leaning that way. All right. So little insight, little info here. I think there was some rumblings. I don't know if Jeremiah Williams was directly tied to it, but Iowa State had the gambling scandal. And I do think that's one of the reasons why he's no longer going to be in Illini. Just rumors through, and that I know that Josh Whitman is a very staunch proponent against collegiate athletes gambling. And so I think that might have contributed to it too. Whether or not he would have got the waiver, whether or not he would have been healthy enough to play. All in all, I really like Jeremiah Williams. I like his skill set. I think he would be a great ancillary piece to this team. Wish the dude well. I like the way he plays like a dog. He actually defends his butt off. But what I'm looking at with this team right now, unless you're able to get a Javon Quinterly who just put his name in the portal, who could be a point guard, who could come in here and start and run point for this team. But Illinois spent a lot of their NIL, and a kid like that's probably looking for a big bag. And I don't know that Illinois could pull that off. I don't know that Illinois has got the resources right now with what we did acquire. I really like, and I know people are going to think I'm crazy, but I'm really warming up to the idea that Ty Rodgers can run point for this team. And then you also have, I think the chances that Harmon is coming to Illinois is increasing. Like it's looking like he's getting the school situation squared away. And if those things happen, I actually don't mind where their team's at. And so therefore I would look at, if you're going to do a reclass of, Mikey Lewis maybe, or some other kid, that's a kid you're going to have to put in some developmental work with. DGL is going to come in and get some time at the one, and along with Ty. I kind of like what we're trying to do here, and I'm all right if we could just kind of stand put and go with the developmental route. Guy. Kirk Creases said he's staying at West Virginia. Thank God.
Let me tell you something, and I want y'all, the ones that follow me on Twitter, if you guys have seen, I never jumped into the Toussaint Creasa crap, it's because it was never happening. Like, people would ask me about it, and they'd be like, oh, and they'd send me. What's funny is, and I do try my best to just respond to people who direct message me, but they're going to be. I had 10 people message me from Wednesday till Friday about, oh, Kirk Creasa's in the portal, it's happening, and I'm like, no. I'm like, first off, he wants 700,000 to 800,000, not happening. He's a dick, not happening. Or you could call him whatever you prefer to call him, Kev. What would you choose?
I've heard the word clubhouse cancer. I think the guy can play, but I don't think he's the guy, right? I don't think he's a good mix in a team led by Terrence Shannon and Coleman Hawkins, right?
Trent saying we don't need Harmon. Ty and DGL and Moretti can handle it.
I don't say it like that. Like Harmon can play. Like Harmon is a really good defender. He can really stroke the three. He is a good athlete.
Go watch his NIT highlights from just a few months ago.
The kid can play. Like he is. he's experienced dude. He's not coming in here expecting to be the man.
But if you had to have a guy off the bench because somebody's got quick, I'd be happy putting Harmon in.
Well, the aspect of it is like right now what you're looking at is Ty Rodgers and DGL, right? And Moretti can certainly handle the point. Moretti, the questions you have with him are defense. But we're forgetting a guy here that's going to play some, and that's Sincere Harris. So if you have two of your guys who can run the point guard, so three of the four guys we have mentioned there, Ty, DGL, DGL, Harris, Moretti, Ty, they're all so inexperienced that you have no experience there. The only guy on that list that DGL and Moretti can probably shoot free throws. Ty and Sincere have not proven that they can. I think you'd like a little bit more veteran ball handler.
Yes.
And Harmon has a propensity to turn the ball over in transition, which is a little concerning. But in the half court sets, he's fairly decent at handling the rock. So that's
he shoots 74% from the line, which is calming.
Yeah, he shoots 38% from three, right, or something like that.
I think a career 35. I think so. He's got experience. He's been in big games. The lights aren't going to get him. You need to have that, and that's the problem that Illinois had last year. Was that you had to depend on young guys to handle the ball. Sincere Harris, Epps, Clark, that was the issue. It was like Epps, they had games, they had big games, but you know what? A lot more than not, when it mattered the most, You know, Epps was struggling to guard people, but also taking really ill-advised bad shots. And Harris, God love him, his effort is never his problem. I think he forced some things too because he was young. But, you know, again, then he would get to the line a lot because he's and he can't make free throws. So you have a guy like Harmon who can take better care of the ball in the half court, who can hit open shots, who can make free throws, who probably will create a lot of contact in the lane, and is a decent passer too. So don't say we don't need him. Yes, St. Dominic's Rosary, you're all over it. Kirk Risa is staying at West Virginia.
Yeah, that's right.
Brad P. So who's reclassifying? That's a great question. So what Kevin was saying, and then what I'm trying to put a bow on, is that the portal is not happening. It's a class of 2024 player who maybe thinks like, hey, I'm ready to get my 1 year in and get to the league, you know, or I'm ready to go to Illinois and maybe develop and play a year, maybe play a little bit, maybe not. But I'd prefer to go do that than maybe play another year in high school. So that's what I'm just been told. That's the route they're going. I don't have a name for you now, but the best thing for you guys all to do, and you can all do this, look at who's Illinois offered. Look at combo guards, point guards within that top 150. And he's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint the name, but you want to get a group of about 10 to 12 names, he's in that group. So I like a guy like Mikey Lewis.
I like his game a lot, yeah.
Yeah, Mikey Lewis is one that I'm going to be honing in on. You guys can hone in on whoever you want.
Well, and then if we're going to talk about future recruiting classes, Illinois is doing a really good job with Jeremiah Fears, right? And I know that people want to point that we didn't get his brother who went to Michigan State, but that might have been a mutual thing, right? I mean,
I think it was mutual with most of the staff, but also Illinois has done something different with this one. They've actually switched up the recruiter on. They've actually put Tim Anderson on Jeremiah Fears.
Right.
Tim Anderson wasn't in the past. So they're doing a little different. And Dre Lawhorn, DGL, not DLG. Dre Gibbs Lawhorn is.
I said son.
I said boy. That's the second time I've done it on one of these shows. I don't know if there'll be a third.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Foghorn Leghorn. We've got Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, who is not just dunking on folks in practice, but try guarding him one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like, it's not happening. So, like, he's explosive. He's dynamic. He's probably the best athlete since, Joe Bertrand.
Yeah, and Brad Sturdy said it. I'll credit Brad with this. Is Sincere Harris is a great athlete. DGL is a better athlete. Like, I mean, and it's not, and he's a much better athlete. So that could tell you that, and he can shoot from the outside, and he's really fast. He's really quick, and and a lot of guys are dropping the pod stuff. Guys, like, listen, you shoot me a tweet, and I'll DM you, because I'm not going to talk about what I know on this show out of respect to Ryan and relationships that he's built. But, like, it wasn't all sunshine and roses with that guy either, okay?
Okay, here's what we're going to say. It was a lot of off-the-court stuff, okay? That's it. A lot of off-the-court stuff. It was not, he sucks stuff, like he can't play.
Or he wasn't working or putting in the work on the court.
No, he was doing all those things. He didn't just magically become the top 20 NBA pick with 1 year at Santa Clara, okay? Guys could see he could play. And you know what? Here's the best way I can explain the pod situation. And I actually said this to his dad. And his dad understood that. But again, as a father wanting your son the best for your son, knowing that your son wants to go to the NBA, knowing that your son's probably got the potential to do it within 3 years. I thought he could be a 3-year guy. But this is what happened in Illinois. I really doubt Illinois would have won the Big Ten that year if they were like, you know what? Sit down, Plummer. Trent, sit your ass down more. We're going to put Pajimski in.
Well, people could talk about DeMonte, but like that you needed
DeMonte. No,
you needed another defender. You desperately needed another wing defender with that team.
And another guy who could rebound. And Podziemski was not defending. Okay. He was worrying about getting his shot, and he was learning too to defend and to rebound. And you got to trust DeMonte, who's obviously had won a Big Ten title before, had played in major games. You're going to trust your fourth and fifth year seniors in those spots. There's no way in heck. I'm just telling you, Illinois wasn't going to win the Big Ten that year if Podziemski was a big role, was getting major minutes. Just not going to happen.
And also, Illinois got Terrence Shannon. There's really only one. There's a ball dominant two guard there already. It was, hey, listen, was it a miss? Yeah, I think we can look at it in the long run. It was probably a miss, but I don't think it's as cut and dry as a guy was a first round draft pick and we didn't play him. It's not quite that simple.
Think about this.
That's all it is to it. It's not that simple.
And here's another funny scenario, and you already know all the Underwood haters would have buried him for this, okay? Hey, Terrence Shannon's out there. No, we got Podziemski. Wait, we know he's going to be a top 20 pick this year. Well, how do you know that? Just because of how he's playing in practice? Well, has he proven anything? No.
And Brandon Podziemski is going to do something in the NBA. I think it's going to work for his skill set. He's athletic enough to play in the NBA. But he's going to sit in the corner and shoot threes. He's going to be a 3-point specialist for that team.
He's going to be like he reminds me of Vincenzo a little bit, but DiVincenzo.
Dante DiVincenzo, yeah.
Yeah, who was on the Warriors
just a couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting enough. And, Trace Jackson Davis was one of the final picks. He got picked by the Warriors too late. And it's crazy to notice, too. It doesn't matter how really big and skilled and athletic your big is, if they can't shoot threes or be consistent at the free throw line, shooting over 80%, these teams aren't drafting you.
Right.
Look at Timmy.
Right.
Trace Jackson Davis. I don't think Zach Edey would have been in a first-round pick.
Luke Garza doesn't see the floor much, and he can shoot, actually. So, there's a lot of that stuff in there. Sean chimed in. Is Illinois interested in Quinterly? Haven't heard much. I know Quinterly mentioned some teams that Illinois wasn't. I think he's looking for a nice bag. I know Memphis has got a big one. They were holding out for Antonio Reeves, who looks like he's going back to Kentucky. So it's probably going to be a situation where the kid's going to try and get paid. I don't think Illinois has got the resources there to compete there. Or do we really want to spend the money on a guy who's in his fourth year of college, is like an 8-point-a-game 4-assist guy? And then, Creed, you're asking about practice. What we do know and what we have seen, there's a lot of Twitter highlights, a lot of Twitter stuff out there. Dane looks really good. Hansberry looks really good. Dane looks a little bit leaner, a little bit quicker. But the guy I've been most impressed with all the videos I've watched is Ty Rogers running the point, man, facilitating. And Ant Wright put out a video of some highlights of Ty running the point. I think it's like,
no, Sean, nope.
I think he could be. I'm shocked he wasn't this year when I watched his lateral quickness and the stuff that he did. But do I think he'll be a first-round pick? No, I think what teams will do, because they won't have to give him a first-round guarantee money, I think teams will take him in the second round next year. I think he'll go. I think he'll make a roster. I think he'll spend 10 years in the league if his body holds up. My projection.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think they're gonna go for some younger guy that's maybe who can shoot threes, who can jump out of the gym, and they're gonna say we don't have to.
From Lithuania.
Yeah, from Lithuania. And so that's Kev's my guy, and who I've heard is going to be hard to keep off the floor is Marcus DeMosk. So
yeah.
And I mentioned that when we talked to him, I told everybody, I'm like, people are just like, oh, good, he's going to start. Well, I'm thinking, dude, DeMosk has played and started 4 years in a row and been an all-league guy. He's like a top 10 scorer in this Southern Illinois history. It's like
season low in points is 13.
Okay, my bad, but you know what I'm saying.
I'm saying as a freshman he averaged 13 points a game at Division I level.
Okay, yeah. So I thought you were saying I missed off. He's not a top 10 scorer.
No, he is. Absolutely, he is. Yeah.
Okay. But I'm thinking and everybody's just dismissing that that's easy to do, and I'm like, yeah, it's not. Just because he plays in the Missouri Valley, that's some chump league, those guys can't play. Yeah. They can, and I can assure you there's a reason Wisconsin was trying to get Marcus DeMosk too. And he said, I don't want nothing to do with that. I'm going to Illinois. He didn't even go visit them.
Well, there's guys that when you saw I'm drawing a blank, the point guard Norwell for Kansas State. He was in Arkansas State. Like, what league are they playing in? Like,
yeah, Bruce Weber. Bruce Weber got over there to Kansas State, Noel, and so that was a Bruce Weber pickup, and it seems like Tang benefited from that because Noel had a good first year there for Bruce, but he had an excellent second season. So
Norwell, Marcus Norwell, right?
Yeah, Noel. Yeah, Noel. Yeah, yep. Nowell. So again, I think it's going to be a deep, experienced team, and Quincy Guerrero's on campus now. Yeah. So I think things are trending in the right direction.
And then SDR, St. Dominic's Rosary, do we think Good will transfer? Do you think he lost in the shuffle? No, I don't think so. No. I think with what he provides for this team and his toughness, his passing, his ability to shoot, like I think he's going to be, like the 7th, 8th man on the team. And I think he's going to contribute a ton. He was penciled in as a starter before the season started last year, about before he broke his footing in that Kansas scrimmage. So there's a chance that he could start. I mean, he is going to be a guy that does all the right things. I think he's a program guy. I think he loves it at Illinois. I think there's a chance he could possibly get another season. Waivers and the NCAA are always weird, but I think Luke Goody looks at this year, sticking with the team this year. He comes into next year as like the most senior guy. As a senior, he's been here around the longest. He's going to be a guy that's going to be highly thought of and going to be a major contributor. I think he'll be like probably an 8 or 9 point per game guy for us this year, and a 3-point specialist and grab 4 or 5 boards and a couple assists. So he's going to play 20 minutes a game.
Goody's going to be a guy who'll play he'll be one of the first 4-year guys back from COVID. He doesn't get a COVID year.
No.
I do know he regrets to a degree last season. I think he wishes he would have just sat out. So he could have had a whole
waiver for sure.
Yeah, he would have got it, but that's just the kind of dude he is. He's wanted to help the team out. But I think you're going to see a really good, nice senior season. And I think next year he's going to definitely be a starter as a senior. And he'll be a guy that, has that big final year where we're always like, well, we knew he was going to be a good player. He had situations his sophomore year just didn't allow him to. And this year we're just going to be so deep at that wing that he's not going to just be a guy that's dominating minutes. So,
but he had a good game against Arkansas.
Goody's a guy I'm okay when he's in the game. I always am. He doesn't need to be guarding 270-pound dudes in the post, but he's a good rebounder. He knows to do it though. What'd you say?
You're afraid to do it. That kid's
yeah. He's going to be a 40% shooter from deep around there. You always like that. He's going to dive for a loose ball, so Brad Underwood loves that. Now we'll get to final thoughts, Kev, and I'm going to go ahead and start it off. So here we go. We're gonna get our music going. There we go. Okay. So my final thought was gonna obviously stick back into kind of with what we've already talked about this episode. It's Illinois this week. I'm expecting 3 to 4 kids from 2024 to announce their commitment to Illinois. So that's going to push Illinois back up, probably maybe even closer to the top 30. Maybe not. They're 35 right now. But I've got a couple defensive backs. I think Valentine's going to pop for Illinois. And you're going to see Tanner Hollinger from Nebraska very soon. So I got 4 from this weekend. But there could be a surprise if Levy or decides to jump on. So 5 tops, but I'm going with 4 from this weekend.
Yeah, I don't have any major thoughts. I love to go with the golf stuff. Nick Hardy made the cut this week, got paid again. Happy for that guy. Stricker didn't play this weekend. Adrian Dumont and Chaucer didn't play this weekend. So there's not really a lot there. I just think I'm going to go back to something I said, something I continue to say. The football program is in really good shape, and we will. I just cannot. We are so light years ahead of where we've ever been as a program in my adult life. The closest thing I can come back to this is maybe like Mike White / Makovic, and Mike White had some issues there, and I'm so excited with what Brett Bielema was building in our program, and I look forward to talking about some fall practices when things get kicked off here in a little bit. But right now, it's all about recruiting. It's exciting, and Illinois is doing big work.
And for any of you worrying about Luke Altmaier, he was one of the finalists, picked for the final 45 for the Peyton Manning Passing Academy.
Amen, dude. Yeah.
So he made that cut. I think there were 60, and they cut it to 45 to be in the final, who get to be in that final group. And so he made it, which I think Altmaier could be a guy that could lead us to be that 10-win type of season if he has a breakthrough season, which I think he's capable of. But anyway, so that's going to do it, Sean. I would lean towards Lightfoot over Brian Reynolds coming to Illinois.
Brian Robinson, yeah.
Yeah, and Brian Robinson. And then Creed Tucker, I'm glad you gave us your final thought. Goody is our Paul Mulcahy. Luke has a higher ceiling than DeVito. I think so too. So with that said, be looking really soon the next day or two for some football commits. I'm Swami. That's Deuce. Swami out.
ILL.
I.